I'll start my lecture with Yes Bank crisis, and then in the process of understanding Yes Bank crisis, we'll be learning a lot of things. All right. In fact, let me begin the lecture in a very different way. So rather than straight away starting from the Yes Bank crisis, let us talk about banking system in general. Because if you understand the functioning of the banking system and you understand how it functions, then you would definitely understand what can go wrong in a banking system, right? So the best way to understand a crisis is to first look at how something works under normal condition. And then we'll start to look at those areas where problems occurred. All right, so let me give you a very small story, very interesting story. So let's say that this is a bank. Consider it to be any bank, doesn't matter which bank it is. All right, so it's any bank. Now, what does this bank do? This bank would get its deposits. So people like you and I, we would go to the bank and give our money to this bank. So we deposit money in the bank. All right. Now, this bank would give loans to whom? To industrialists. So for example, let's say that this bank is giving loan to a student for education purposes, to a businessman, to expand the business, to a person who is employed in a service. So for example, let's say tomorrow you want to buy a car, you can take a loan from a bank, and suppose you are working. So you are an IS officer, you want to buy a car, you'll go to a bank and take bank loan. So bank gets its deposit from people, and then bank gives loans to different entities, like a student for education loan, employed people, business, different categories. Now, let's see what can go wrong and what can go right. When people deposit their money in the bank, people expect that when they would require their money, they can easily go to the bank and withdraw it, right? All right, that is how the bank functions. Now, this bank has given money to student for student loan, education loan. When the student completes his or her education, the student returns the money to the bank. All right, so this money which the student took is returned to the bank. Good, it's a positive thing. Why? Because money is being returned. Now, I gave your example that when you become IS officers, you buy a car and you take loan from a bank. Now, you're an honest person, so you return the bank's money. All right, so again, this is also positive because you return the money of the bank. Now, suppose this bank has given a lot of loans to some businessman. This businessman, unfortunately, is not able to return the money of the bank. All right, so this money is not coming back to the bank. Maybe the businessman has suffered losses or could be any reason. So this is negative because money is not coming back to the bank. Now, suppose that this bank slowly becomes such that it is not interested in giving a lot of loans to students or employed people. This bank wants to specialize in giving money to industries. But suppose industries are not returning the money of the bank, what will happen? Remember, whose money was passed on by the bank to the business? Depositors' money. Now, since bank is not getting its money back, depositors get this news that, oh, there is a problem. I have deposited my money to a bank and this bank is not getting its loans back, which means that tomorrow this bank might go bankrupt and the owners of the bank might run away. So now what happens? These people, the depositors, they start to come to the bank and say, give me my money. This bank is not getting its money back. All the depositors are coming at one go and saying, return my money. Can you imagine the situation? So what will happen? This bank will have to then declare that, sorry, I don't have your money. This is called as the case of bankruptcy. Now, if this scenario happens, suppose you are the government. What will you do? Government has created a specialized body in India called as Central Bank, RBI. So RBI is an autonomous body. What will RBI do? RBI controls the banking system in India. So what will RBI do? Now RBI will come to this bank and RBI sees that, oh, there are 3-4 types of problem. Number one, this bank's loan is not coming back. That is problem number one. Problem number two, lot of depositors are coming at one go and demanding their money. That's second problem. Third problem, RBI tries to find out that why is it that this bank gave loan to those businessmen whose track record of returning money was bad, which means there must be somebody in the management of the banking system who was not very prudent, who was not very careful when he or she was giving out loans, right? So when RBI comes here, RBI would have to take care of four things. Number one, RBI has to find out who is that person who gave loans without proper checks and balances. So to identify the person, to remove him, right? Number two, if you remove somebody from a bank, you have to bring in somebody else to take his position. So RBI has to remove somebody. Maybe that somebody was corrupt, so RBI has to remove him and bring somebody new. And this will be RBI's guy. So this will be step number one, which RBI does. Step number two, now RBI knows that people are coming to ask for their money and everybody is coming at one go. So RBI will come and say, no, don't worry people, we are here to take care of the bank. So RBI will say, you cannot withdraw entire money that you have given to the bank. So RBI will put some limits. RBI will say, so for example, suppose I have deposited 10 lakh rupees with this bank and I am telling this bank, give me my 10 lakh rupees. So RBI will say, no, you can only withdraw 10,000 rupees at one go, not 10 lakh rupees. So RBI will put a cap. So that's step number two. All right. Step number three. Now when RBI comes here, RBI sees that, okay, this bank has already given its money to corrupt people, to businessmen who are not returning money. So RBI will start to take action against these businessmen now. That's step number three. All right, RBI with other agencies like Enforcement Directorate. So RBI will file cases, RBI will help in the investigation, and RBI would try to find out how much loan was taken and these people are not returning the money. So legal action will be taken against, these are called as defaulters. Fourth, well, if bank's money has already been taken and being not returned, which means this bank is in need of money. So the fifth step that RBI will do is, RBI somehow would try to find a method through which fresh money can be injected into this bank so that this bank's life can be saved, number one, and number two, people who have deposited the money, they can take their money back. So 5 steps should be taken by RBI, right? What if I tell you guys that you have just in last 5 minutes, you have covered the entire Yes Bank crisis. This is precisely what happened in the Yes Bank and the crisis related to Yes Bank. Now, if you just know this story, it will not help you in UPSC. But if you don't know this story, you won't be able to answer most of the questions in UPSC prelims, mains or interviews. Why? Because if you know this entire story, then you would know that if an examiner sits to frame questions, the examiner would have his eyes set on a few things. Number one, so examiner would ask questions maybe related to why this bank was giving money to these businessmen. That's the reason. Question number one that can be asked. Question number two, if a lot of money is being given but it is not returning, what is the technical name of that term? All right, non-performing assets. Number three, when a lot of people are coming to bank to claim their money, what do you call that in economics? Bank rush, bank run. A lot of people are running to the bank and saying, give me my money. All right. Next, when RBI comes here and RBI finds out that one of the person in the management is corrupt, RBI removes him. What is that particular act which gives power to the RBI to do such a thing? What is that legality? What is that rule which RBI uses to take out somebody from the management and puts its own person? So there must be a name of that, right? Next, when I told you that this bank has already lost all its money and RBI is putting money in it, will RBI put money from its own pocket? No. So is RBI going to create a revival package? Yes. Now, what is the name of that revival package? How is RBI trying to save this bank? These are some of the technical aspects now which we are going to study. All right. But you cannot understand technicalities unless you understand the entire story. So now let me take you to the journey of understanding the technicalities. Now let's start with the technicalities of this topic. All right. Now, guys, have a look at it. This will not be directly asked in UPSC, but if you know the background, it will become easy for you to handle questions there. Let's begin. Now, this is Yes Bank crisis. Let's look at the profile of the Yes Bank. What is Yes Bank exactly? Now, this bank was incorporated, which means registered with the Government of India authorities in 2004 by the name of Yes Bank. All right. Now, who are the owners of the Yes Bank? Mr. Rana Kapoor and late Mr. Ashok Kapoor. These two are the owners. Now, this bank is called as New Age Private Sector Bank in India. All right. So, this is New Age Private Sector Bank. Now, what is the status of this bank? By the way, let me tell you something interesting about this bank. This bank has been so big that it has most of the time figured in top 5 private sector banks of India. In fact, it has always been in top 10. Most recently, it has hovered between rank 4 and rank 7. But when it was about to collapse, it had achieved the status of 4th largest private sector bank in India. Can you imagine that? Now, what are the business areas of Yes Bank? What was Yes Bank doing? Now, corporate and institutional banking. So, you know, Yes Bank was catering to or giving loans and doing financial transactions with Indian corporate sector, multinational companies, central and state government, public sector enterprises, with everybody. All right. Second is business banking. So, Yes Bank was catering to small and medium businesses also. They were giving loans to them. Now, Yes Bank is into retail banking as well. So, for example, if I go and open a savings account with a bank, that's called retail banking. So, Yes Bank was into retail banking as well. And what are the things Yes Bank did in retail banking? Savings account, current account, fixed deposit, and depository services. So, guys, suppose you appear in UPSC prelims and they ask you a question that which of the following functions of a bank are covered under retail banking, and they will say, catering to Indian corporates, no. Second is catering to small and medium business, no. Third is catering to savings account, current account, fixed deposit account, yes. So, under retail banking, these points are covered. Yes Bank was also giving investment banking services. So, for example, if two companies are supposed to be merged, they need a roadmap, they need a planning, right? A lot of technicalities are involved. So, who used to give them consultancy and help them in mergers and acquisitions? Yes Bank. So, Yes Bank was also doing investment banking, mergers and acquisitions, IPO advisory. So, suppose I am a company, I want to issue shares for the first time in the market. So, can I go to Yes Bank and take their advice? Yes, that is called as IPO, initial public offering. So, this is the business areas of Yes Bank. Now, let me take you through the story of Yes Bank, because if you go through the story of Yes Bank, you would understand why Yes Bank started to suffer the crisis. So, let's see. All right, have a look, guys. Now, let me tell you something very interesting. Yes Bank did not start as Yes Bank. In fact, Yes Bank started as NBFC in India. So, Yes Bank was actually a non-banking financial company, which was set up in 1999. So, you know who are the people who set up this non-banking financial company, which later on became Yes Bank? So, Mr. Ashok Kapoor, Mr. Harkirat Singh, and third is Mr. Rana Kapoor. And in fact, these two were friends, and Mr. Ashok Kapoor insisted Mr. Harkirat Singh to keep Rana Kapoor also as one of the partners in this non-banking financial company. So, these three came together and they started this company called as NBFC. Now, in 100% shares, 25% shares were held by these three, right? That's why I've written AHR. So, 25% shares of this non-banking financial company was held by these three, and 75% share was held by this Rabobank of Netherlands. They held 75% share. Now, guys, if somebody is holding 75% shares of a company, you tell me, if CEO has to be appointed or main decisions of this NBFC has to be taken, who will take the policy decisions? Obviously, Rabobank of Netherlands. Now, this made this Rabobank to be very dominant in this NBFC. They started to take main decisions. Harkirat Singh was not very happy with this. So, what did he do? He quit. He left. When did he leave? In 2003, This NBFC applied for a banking license and they became Yes Bank in 2003. See? And in 2003, since they started to say that we will decide who becomes the CEO and all, so Harkirat Singh, he quit. He was not happy. So Yes Bank acquired license, proper license to function as a bank, commercial bank in 2004. Now, so something interesting happened. So between 2003 and 2008, who were the two people who were controlling the bank? Mr. Ashok Kapoor and Mr. Rana Kapoor. Now in November 26, 2008, this is called as 26/11. You remember 26/11 terrorist attacks in Mumbai? Yes, in those attacks, Mr. Ashok Kapoor was killed in this terrorist attack actually. Now when he was killed, who is the most dominant person of this bank? The most dominant person of this bank becomes Mr. Rana Kapoor. Now Rana Kapoor took full control of this bank. Now Mr. Rana Kapoor took the name of this bank, Yes Bank, in a literal sense. Because what he started to do is, whenever somebody used to approach him, a big businessman, that I need money, Mr. Kapoor, for my business, he used to say yes to everybody. Which means that starting from 2008, the yes culture started in Yes Bank. He never refused loan to anybody. He started to give money to everyone, which means they were expanding loans in a very aggressive manner. All right. Now, see what happened between 2008 and 15, period of internal fight and aggressive expansion. Guys, you remember who was killed in this terrorist attack? Ashok Kapoor. His family was not given a position in the Yes Bank because Rana Kapoor started to take control of everything. So his family started to fight with Mr. Kapoor that give us a position in the board of directors. He refused it. So there was a legal battle which was going on between 2008 and 15. So two things happened. Legal battle going on. Mr. Kapoor was controlling everything. Plus aggressive lending was being done by Mr. Kapoor. One of the reports says that between 2008 and 15, mind you, these 7-8 years, Yes Bank gave loan to the tune of 35,000 crore which were NPA. They gave a lot of loans, but the extent of NPA, which means that Yes Bank gave 35,000 crore and it was not able to recover it. They gave more than 35,000 crore, but rest of the amount could be recovered, but this 35,000 crore could not be recovered. That was one of the problems. So this is a round figure, not the exact figure. This is the extent of NPA created between 2008 and 15. Now, which are those companies to which Mr. Kapoor gave a lot of loans? Have a look at the name of the companies. Anil Ambani Group of Industries. And you know that they are into losses. Currently, if you read the newspaper, even SBI is asking for money from Mr. Ambani. Now, second is SL Group. You must have heard the name ZTV and all. SL Group. Now, Diwan Housing Finance Corporation, DHFL. This is doomed. IL&FS, doomed. Now, these are the group of companies to which Mr. Rana Kapoor gave a lot of money. Most of these loans, 35,000 crore, were given to them. Can you imagine what happened to the bank? So, Mr. Kapoor gave this money never came back. Now, in 2015, look at when for the first time we came to know that there is a problem in the Yes Bank. The problem did not start in 2015. The problem started in 2008 when this guy, Mr. Kapoor, started to give money to these industries. But for the first time in 2015, a global financial company called UBS, they gave a report and they said that according to us, Yes Bank is having a lot of NPA. They were talking about this. So they said there is a lot of NPA, and in fact, this UBS group, they said that if you are an investor in the market and if you have shares of Yes Bank, then your future is not very bright because Yes Bank might be doomed anytime. So go to the market, sell your shares because Yes Bank will be doomed. They said it for the first time. All right. Now, you must have heard that in the year 2015, under Dr. Raghuram Rajan, RBI started a new policy called as Asset Quality Review, AQR. What is AQR? So, by the year 2014-15, it was clear that India had a lot of NPA problem, non-performing assets. What is non-performing assets? If I am a bank, if I give you loan and you don't return the money to me, you don't give me my interest rate, because I have given you loan, no? So you have to give interest rate to the bank, you have to return the principal. If you don't do that, then the money which you have taken is called non-performing asset for me. All right? So what did RBI do? In 2015, RBI realized that a lot of banks in India are hiding non-performing assets. So Dr. Raghuram Rajan, he started to convene the meetings of all the banks, and he told all the bankers in India that, so this started in 2015, and Dr. Raghuram Rajan told all the bankers that in next 1 year, which is by 2016, all the banks in India must report the true figures of non-performing assets. He threatened them that if you don't do that, I will take action against you. But guess which bank did not report the true figures? Even after the threat from Dr. Rajan? Yes Bank. Yes Bank did not give the true figures. All right. So this is for the first time that we saw that there were some signs of trouble in the bank. 2015 trouble, 2016 trouble, because they did not give the right figures. 2017, let's see what happened. In 2017, since by 2016 they should have given the figure, they did not. So in 2017, RBI imposed a fine of 6 crore rupees on Yes Bank. And RBI told Yes Bank that you have not declared your NPA, plus there was some problem in the ATM of Yes Bank in 2016-17. ATMs were compromised. And when the ATM of a bank is compromised, you have to report it to RBI. But Yes Bank did not report it to RBI in time. Yes Bank delayed it, which means you are putting customer at risk. All right. It can lead to cyber security crimes when you put your ATM cards in the machine. If it is compromised, anybody can withdraw your money. So they should have immediately informed RBI. They did not. So because of two things. So one, they did not declare their NPA in time. Number two, they did not declare the ATM issue to RBI in time. Because of these two things, a 6 crore rupees fine was imposed on Yes Bank by RBI in 2017. All right. Now, let's look at another sign of crisis and problem in the Yes Bank. In 2018, what happened, guys? In 2018, you see the beginning of the collapse of the Yes Bank. Let's see what happened. You know, the companies like IL&FS, DHFL and Anil Ambani Group, these companies started to collapse. They had taken money from Yes Bank. So when they are collapsing, how will they return the money of Yes Bank? They can't. Exactly this happened. So Yes Bank reported NPA, non-performing assets, for the first time. Willingly, they told that, okay, we have NPA of 3,277 crores. This was the beginning of the problem. Now, what did RBI do? RBI immediately gave notice to Mr. Rana Kapoor, because RBI realized that who was giving money to these people? Mr. Rana Kapoor. So RBI said, you are fired. RBI said, very soon we will replace you. Not immediately, but very soon. And Enforcement Directorate started examination of whether he was a corrupt person, whether he was giving loan to these companies by taking bribes. This was being examined. Now, chairman of Yes Bank, Mr. Ashok Chawla, he also resigned in November 2018. Why? Because CBI filed a corruption case against him. So in a corruption case, he had to resign. Now see, CEO gone, chairman gone. This was the condition of this bank. Now rating agencies, for the first time then, they started to say that, okay, this bank is in trouble, and they started to downgrade the ratings of this bank. Now, what did RBI do? Now let us have a look at what RBI actually did the moment it found out that the problem of Yes Bank is not a small problem. RBI found out that there is something terribly wrong with Yes Bank, and this is what RBI did. Let's have a look at it, please. So see what RBI did. Now the first thing, immediately what RBI did is they appointed Mr. R. Gandhi, former Deputy Governor of RBI, to the board of Yes Bank. So RBI appointed somebody, its own person, in the board of Yes Bank. Why did RBI do that? Because Yes Bank declared non-performing assets worth 3,277 crores. Now, Mr. Rana Kapoor was asked by RBI to quit Yes Bank by January 31st, 2019. Now, since RBI asked him to quit, you know what RBI did? RBI appointed Mr. Ravneet Gill as the CEO of Yes Bank. That is what RBI did. So what did RBI do? RBI appointed Mr. Ravneet Gill as CEO of Yes Bank, and the moment Mr. Ravneet Gill became CEO, he told RBI that the amount of non-performing assets that we were expecting in Yes Bank and the reality is different. In real, the amount of non-performing assets in Yes Bank is much, much higher compared to what they were thinking. All right. Now, the moment Mr. Ravneet Gill informed this to RBI that the amount of NPA, non-performing assets in Yes Bank is huge, you know what RBI did? RBI imposed a lot of fines on Yes Bank. After appointing Ravneet Kapoor, RBI imposed fines on Yes Bank. Why? Because Yes Bank violated a lot of rules. Example, one of the violation of the rules was related to SWIFT. What is SWIFT, guys? The full form of SWIFT, Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication. All right, I have written it here. So what is a SWIFT? So, you know, SWIFT is, let's say, let's use an example from real life. So do you guys create WhatsApp group, Telegram group and all that? So SWIFT is like, you know, a group created by banks across the world, more than 10,000 banks. They have come together. Every bank is given a unique identity, a code is given, and all the banks of the world, whosoever wants to be a part of SWIFT, they take that code, that becomes their identity, and they become a member of SWIFT. So suppose I am a bank in India, I am a member of SWIFT, Bank of America is a member of SWIFT. Now I want to carry on some financial transaction with Bank of America, or I want to you know, pass on a message to Bank of America through SWIFT, that closed group, communication group. An Indian bank can do that to another bank in a foreign country. The rule in India, after the Punjab National Bank crisis, the Nirav Modi scam, the rule in India is that if a bank carries out some kind of communication through SWIFT or a transaction through SWIFT, the bank has to note it down in the core banking system. So if I am a bank in India called Yes Bank, and I am doing some business with Bank of America, and I am doing the business through SWIFT, then I have to make a copy of that business and put it in core banking system, because when RBI comes for audit, RBI audits the CBS. All right. So whatever you do through SWIFT, it has to be written in CBS as well. Yes Bank violated that rule. So what did RBI do? RBI started to put some fine on the Yes Bank as well. Now let me continue with the RBI's action, immediate action, when it found out that there was some problem with the Yes Bank. Next thing is, see, so what happened? Mr. Gill, Mr. Ravneet Gill, he was made the CEO of the Yes Bank. I told you he found out that there is a lot of NPA in the bank. So what did Mr. Gill do? Mr. Gill set a target that since Yes Bank has credit problem, credit crunch, so Mr. Gill said that okay, we are going to fix a target that we will raise $1 billion in the coming few months. All right, he wanted to raise this money. Now he tried his best. Target was $1 billion, but he could only raise $270 million. So he fell well short of target. That was the problem. Now, in the meantime, RBI saw that this man is trying to get money for the bank. So RBI gave time to Yes Bank that, Mr. Yes Bank, why don't you create a policy for your own revival? Because, you know, if you are a banker, if you are governor of a central bank, you don't want to interfere too much. When a bank is in crisis, the first reaction of RBI is, let the bank create a plan of its own revival. If it is not able to do that, then RBI intervenes. So first RBI gave time to Yes Bank, and RBI told this bank, the management of the bank, that you create a plan for your revival. Look at Yes Bank. Yes Bank could not even create a plan for its revival. So RBI saw that there is nothing which is going to happen. In the meantime, the news of Yes Bank failing, you know, it percolated across the mass. Everybody knew there is a problem with the Yes Bank. So what did people do? A lot of people started to rush to Yes Bank. Why? Because this is called bank rush. People started to rush to Yes Bank to withdraw their deposit. RBI noticed it, that, you know, bank is not creating any kind of revival plan. People are going to Yes Bank to withdraw money. Yes Bank does not have money. So RBI saw that this bank will collapse now and there will be a chaos in the economy. People will lose faith in the banking system. People would even start to question RBI also, that what are you doing? Why aren't you able to control your banking system? So what did RBI do? RBI now decided to intervene. And what's the first thing that the RBI do? Now RBI said that on March 6, 2020, RBI put the Yes Bank under moratorium. That's the first thing that RBI did. All right, direct intervention. What is the meaning of moratorium? Meaning of moratorium is these threefold. First is RBI took control of Yes Bank for 30 days and RBI decided to work on a revival plan. Now RBI started to control Yes Bank for 30 days and RBI said we will give you a revival plan. The second thing is RBI also named Prashant Kumar, who is SBI's former chief financial officer, as Yes Bank's administrator. All right. So what did RBI do? They named Prashant Kumar as chief, administrator of Yes Bank. Now, since a lot of people were going to withdraw money, what did RBI do? RBI also limited withdrawals per person to 50,000 rupees maximum. These are the three things which were done under moratorium. Mind you, this is important. For 30 days, RBI took control of Yes Bank and then RBI decided that they are going to work on a revival plan. What was the revival plan, guys? This is the revival plan, which I am talking about. See, so RBI's restructuring plan called as bailout plan for Yes Bank. See what happened under that? So there are three things which happened. Actually, there are two things only which happened. This third thing I have put because this is a third thing which RBI is going to permit in case of Yes Bank. This came in the news a few days back. But these were the two original points of the bailout package. This third point I have added because this is also going to happen with the Yes Bank. So this is also a part of the restructuring. All right. Now, so what's the first thing? A consortium of banks led by SBI, which means a group of banks led by SBI, they decided to put some money or capital in the Yes Bank. What is the total capital they are putting? Almost, it's not a precise figure, but roughly 10,000 crores. So SBI and some other banks, they are coming together and they are putting 10,000 crores. Now, RBI's second point under bailout plan is called as writing of AT1 bonds. All right, I'll teach you this, don't worry. Now, the value of this bond is 8,000 crores. So RBI is saying we are going to remove this 8,000 crore burden from Yes Bank. All right. Now, third is foreign portfolio investment allowed to pick up stake in Yes Bank, which means there are some foreigners, foreign investors who are interested in buying shares in Yes Bank and they are being given permission. SEBI is looking into it. How much is the plan that we are going to allow these foreigners to buy a stake in Yes Bank? The plan is almost $300 million. That's the plan.